Yeah.
So I've got a question, which this pops up for me in talking to you guys. Usually we don't get a lot of testimony from people in the Air Force about UAP, and so I've got a couple questions about that. I mean, if I understand what the security force is, it's something like law enforcement, or is it just security in the broad sense for the Air Force?
Chaz, I'll let you break that down, buddy.
It's a vast career field. So we do have a law enforcement aspect, which kind of mirrors what your local law enforcement does, but it's done on the base level with military folks. Depending on what base you're at, you might work with the civilian law enforcement on things in and around your base. We have the security element. So when we're out there guarding our restricted area, some of our assets, flight line, things like that. And then we also have a combat role as we're the frontline of defense for the Air Force. So we deploy to Afghanistan, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, all those other countries. And most of the time we're attached to the Army, the Marine Corps, things like that. So we have a very vast career field with a lot of different specialties within them. So we see a lot, and we're trained to do a lot of different facets.
Okay. So my question was a little simple-minded, and I misunderstood then, like, how broad of a sector or division of the Air Force it is. Reason I'm asking is, a lot of us have the impression that Air Force pilots and let's say Air Force intelligence people too are very unlikely to be speaking publicly about UAP. Is this happening in your case, Chaz, because you're kind of in a different division, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, I got out of the Air Force and kind of, assumed I guess you call it normal life, a civilian life, and I'm not working for or with the government. So for me to speak about it, I'm not putting my career in any kind of jeopardy at this point in time. And I like Jeff says, I do it because there's a need for everyone to know.
Yeah, but where I'm going, and maybe Jeff, you might be able to shed some light on this. Is it seems to me that whether there's a formal policy or a kind of informal culture around this, Air Force pilots are rarely seen in public talking about this, whereas we've had many Navy pilots talking about it. And I wonder what you think that's about.
So I think it's a cultural thing. The Air Force is their primary mission is the nuclear arsenal, right? And that's what our primary mission as security forces is. We guard most of the nation's nuclear assets. The Navy has nuclear assets too, but it's our primary reason for existing. And all of our security standards and training are based on that. That's the pinnacle of security. So Air Force security is the pinnacle, as far as I'm concerned, of security. The policies and procedures around dealing with assets like that or similar assets. I mean, there is just no latitude. So I could give you an example, like without going in anything classified. It's our security protocols are so strict that if we're watching somebody, let's say, change a tire on an aircraft that has a nuclear asset on it, we have two cops watching with eyeballs, and there has to be two people changing the tire, and they can never for 1 millisecond be out of each other's sight or out of our sight. So if one person makes a mistake and goes on the back end of the wheel well, we cops pull out our guns and challenge them. We handcuff them, and now they're in big trouble because they made a 1 second mistake. And now their clearance is in jeopardy. They're under investigation because they broke a protocol. And that's how we train, and that's how we live. That's the culture. And we used to make fun of the Navy. I'm not making fun of the Navy, but compared to our security, their security was lax. We would laugh at them like, you're not guarding anything, because it was so strict and so robust. So there's a culture of secrecy, of compliance, of following the rules and not stepping outside the boundaries, because it could be a career ender. So that it's just, I think there's a cultural aspect, and there's also pressure, and there could be policies in place. That, from what I understand, all UAP related material is classified secret or above by the DoD.
Okay, understood. Leslie, you have any follow-ups on that?
I don't think so, Peter. It's fascinating. Fascinating. Yeah.
So I want to, Jeff, come back to what happened in Congress with your testimony. I have the impression that, you probably made a real splash with the members, with Representatives Luna and Burleson, Burchett, Moskovitz. How did they receive your testimony that day, but also the very convincing performance you delivered?
The feedback I've received is that they were very pleased. They were, inspired and motivated to continue to fight for this cause and for whistleblower protection and legal protections. So I think we did what we set out to do. We kind of wanted to reset the playing field. We wanted to bring an air of seriousness to the topic. We wanted to inspire a whole new generation of people to get curious and involved in every endeavor, scientific, in research and on and on. So the feedback has been extremely, extremely good.